Hello and welcome back in the fifth video. This is day 5 of my public announcement to build a SaaS application, Sidetracker.io, and yesterday and today I had a lot of progress around the features and did a lot of structuring in the database architecture, and I want to share that with you. So let's dive in. On the screen you see draw.io, like a diagram I've created that explains the application. As far as I now see it, for the end of January we will have 2 features, and they are in a way interwoven with each other. They use the same functionality in the backend, or possibly, and I will explain that. Feature 1 is tracking. Tracking is a script in a client side. It could be any website, and we just know when a customer comes in, and we store the IP address, the browser, the iOS, etc. And also there is a possibility to add attributes with values or parameters to links, ref. And if the client clicks on it, you can trigger events. Those events, so for example, you have a parameter named set IP address or whatever, is true or whatever you want. You could add variables, etc. But then the click event will be recognized, and that click event can consist of just an action. An action could be something like store this value in a cookie, or in the local storage, or keep it cross-domain as a parameter, or maybe there are other actions we have to still think about, but those are the 3 that already exist. And there's also a click event that could hang on a trigger, and a trigger is a new database model I've created. I'll show you in a bit. But a trigger can consist of events, and an event can be many things. So and there can be multiple events, and this is where it becomes interesting, I think. For example, I click this button, and then the trigger is email me, or save it to a list or a CSV, make a payment. For example, if you're an affiliate, make a payment to your affiliate partner. Those things you can initiate. So there's a whole series of events you can preset. And for example, there's one thing, if you are a SaaS founder, you have this thing that people, what I like to know, for example, without using my own in-app coding, I want to have that externally. And that's what I'm already using this for, is that through an API call we store data. For example, made his first inventory item, or this user, because at one point you know what the users are using within a set of features. And the trigger can be, for example, that user gets a certain email, or that you store him in a list of potential leads, or you name it. It's like segmentation and a bit of customer stuff. It's still very far like shattered. It's not like the full product market fit is not clear to me yet, but it is a very useful feature I know, and I think I can sell. So that's why I'm still pursuing that and working it further out. Another thing is checks. A check could be that you are do a simple check, like checking every hour if your website is still live. If not, send me an email. If not, send the web developer of if you have your WordPress site or whatever, send him an email. Or if a certain HTML value is not existing, or attribute is not existing on the website, send someone an email, or whatever event you wanna know. And this is handy when you are represented on certain websites, or content is changing with your competitor. You get an immediate update, and you can have an action on that. So that's what checks do, and they can use the same triggers. How does that look in the application? Let me see. Yeah, let's first, so because it's not fully CRUD yet in the front end, but let's see. We have our application, we now have tracking, checks, lists and triggers. Well, lists will be the lists where we can that we can create, that we can store data in. For example, someone subscribed, we push certain data about him or her, this client, to the list of subscribers. Maybe we create even segments like subscriber starter plan, subscriber growth plan, subscriber professional, or and then you can also say, okay, subscriber professional that created a new inventory item. So it uses the application like a warehouse management system, while those users use the application as a in my case with Stockpilot as purely as an inventory system. And that's interesting to know. Tracking. Here we now have click events, and you can create those click events. It's still very basic, but you can say an action, store or keep, and then you can say if it's button or aref. And then the next step is also that you can say this trigger is used. So let's go to triggers. This is, for example, a trigger. Yeah, I might show you the database later or the backend, but you can give the trigger a name, and then you can say, so is it an email or add to a list? And those are the two events right now that we have. But I also am very keen on send a payment, especially to my affiliates. If they come in with this parameter and the user subscribes, then for example, my affiliate gets an email, and later when the same subscriber gets a certain plan, I can say like affiliate this and this plan, then it automatically pays my my affiliate. Something like that is for me very interesting to automate. So that's something we could do here. And those triggers, for example, here we already have it. You can hang them on a check. So this is one check. It's on purpose a wrong domain, by the way, but this check is every minute, which also is of course not very handy, but every minute it checks if this website is still returns to 200. If not, send this trigger. And in the live environment, or new live environment for me, we already have this working. So I create two checks. One check is to check on this website if our element here is still there, because sometimes it's just removed. And if not, it sends an email with a certain text to me and my ads guy. And this one checks if we're still live. If not, send an email to me. So that's already in use. Super handy, for me at least. How does that look? In the backend we have a new app, trigger. Trigger consists of trigger, and I'm sure more fields will be added, but this is to outline everything. How I often work is outline it, show it in the front end, and then I go in depth. For example, you'll see in my API call, for example, just to see how I work, or here I mean, tasks, this is it, but the route is there, it prints that, later we get back to that. So that's often how I work. First outlining, then getting it done. Trigger, when it's saved in the database, it automatically generates a unique ID. This we use for API calls, so that's important for us. And also it can consist of an event. So the event, let me see. So the event is a separate model, because the event can be part of many different triggers. So you create one event, and that could be part of this trigger, that trigger. So it's not directly related, and the events are the interesting ones. And this event in Django you can inherit. So now it inherits an email event. But of course, if we have the list event, we could create an extra, that should be here. I can already add it for now, but it will be there anyway. There will be like list event. That's the one, add something to a list. And then I can imagine it's list ID or something. Or list FK, like foreign key. Something like this would be the architecture as far as I can think of. Yeah, and the list model is not existing yet, so we have to comment this out anyway. But something like this, and then it's, when the event is triggered, it knows list, and then maybe we also need certain data, like JSON data, or a data set structure or something. Like what columns, what to populate in that list. Something like this will be the list event, and so this way we can make many events, of course. And then we have a trigger event, and this one is the glue between the trigger and event. So we have a trigger foreign key and an event foreign key, and this trigger event I'll show you later. But that one, oh yeah, and this is, by the way, if you save it, it's just sorting. So you have a 0 till, maybe for later use you can sort them. It's just there. It's not in use yet, but I like to already have it there. But this trigger event is probably used in checks, I think. I already used it. Might be check event, let's see. Checker trigger. This one is already used. Let me see. So I do the same thing here with checks. So we have a checker is organization, name, URL, and then there's a rule behind that. The rule is if element exists, page is live, content change, response time, broken links, whatever. And then we have some, for now it's just for Beautiful Soup, so we have some fields that Beautiful Soup uses. Max response time is used with page live, and more fields might be added, but that's the rule. And then we have a checker trigger, and this one is used, let me see, as a form, and that's the glue between the two. So if you create a checker, this is the one that knows, like, okay, this checker uses that trigger. That's it. I think this is, for me, makes sense. There are many ways to roam, but for me this is a nice structure. I think it makes sense. Also, I added an extra API endpoint, trigger event, and I can imagine that you also want to be able, as a developer, of course, developers are the target audience, I guess, especially because there's many quite technical. We have an extra endpoint, so that endpoint now does nothing. Why not? Okay, something doesn't exist, but this, maybe we solve it immediately while we edit. Fuse 36 trigger is not existing. Okay, so this trigger element doesn't exist, so maybe we have a trigger element that we can use. Let me quickly see all these screens. Here we are. So triggers, now this one exists, and that's why we want to have a unique ID. So trigger, so it says trigger email. This is just to set it up, but the serializer says, if updates, trigger an email. And of course we say something like, we evaluate this. If the event is email, for example, within the trigger, so if trigger.event, for event and trigger event, something like that. If it's email, then send this email, else, etc. So that's kind of the setup here. And and the API is something I really have to think about later, because I think that one is very important in this application, but not for now. I'm quite happy with this progress. It starts to make sense. Also, I really realize it's a lot still. It's shattered, but it becomes like a product in my head. And I'm already thinking like affiliates is an interesting market, and of course SaaS owners. me as my own customer. So yeah, that's it for today. I hope you like and enjoy these videos. If so, let me know. I like comments. I like to discuss things. I also like to hear your ideas about it and what you would have done differently, for example, or if you like or dislike the process I'm in, the way I progress. Yeah. Christmas is coming, so I think a little bit less progress these days. A lot of thinking maybe. But I see you for sure next week on Wednesday. Happy holidays. Bye.